Israel will soon begin deporting activists, including Greta Thunberg, for attempting to bring aid into Gaza by sea. The Israeli Navy began intercepting aid flotilla vessels after warning the activists against entering waters it says fall under its blockade. The passengers were detained by naval forces and are now being escorted to a port in the Israeli city of Ashdod, where they'll be deported. Hundreds of activists, including a Canadian, began the journey on the Mediterranean Sea more than a month ago as part of a mission to get aid into the war-torn region. Journalist Blake Sifton has more now from Tel Aviv.
The Israeli Foreign Ministry says that the flotilla that was attempting to challenge Israel's naval blockade of Gaza is now over. All boats have been intercepted. They say one boat is still at sea, suffering from mechanical issues, and that if it were to continue on its way to Gaza, it too would be intercepted. Now, all of this began Wednesday night when Israeli naval commandos began boarding boats from the flotilla. They also used water cannons, sprayed water on the boats, and as well, there was one incident where the organizers say that one of the flotilla boats was rammed by the Israeli Navy. However, no injuries have been reported. The hundreds of participants in the flotilla, including activists like Greta Thunberg, lawyers, members of parliament from European countries, as well as journalists, are all being taken to the Israeli port of Ashdod, where they will be processed and then deported. Now, there's been other attempts in the past to challenge Israel's naval blockade of Gaza. As recently as June and July, other flotillas were intercepted. However, those were considerably smaller, far fewer boats, and the Israeli military explained that this flotilla would present a unique challenge for the Navy. Now, meanwhile, in Gaza, the Israeli Defense Minister, Israel Katz, yesterday said that the Israeli military had finished encircling Gaza City. They have now cut off the coastal road from Gaza City to the south. People are no longer allowed to go from the south to the north, and anyone trying to leave Gaza City, civilians trying to flee, now have to pass through Israeli military lines. Defense Minister Israel Katz urged remaining civilians to leave, saying this was their last opportunity, and that said afterward that those who remain in Gaza will be terrorists or terror supporters. It's important to remember that there are still hundreds of thousands of civilians remaining in Gaza City. Meanwhile, Hamas says that they are still considering and discussing President Trump's 20-point peace plan for Gaza. They say they want clarifications on some points, and they want amendments made specifically on this call for them to disarm. They say a distinction should be made between offensive weapons and defensive weapons. They say they have the right to maintain defensive weapons. They also want clarifications and promises made on the timeline for Israeli forces to withdraw from Gaza. In the past, they have said that they would exchange all Israeli hostages in exchange for an end to the war and a full withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. However, according to this proposal, Hamas would release all hostages for only a modest withdrawal of Israeli forces, and the full withdrawal would be tied to the progress made by this international stabilization force that is meant to enter Gaza and help with the demilitarization of the Strip. Blake Sifton for CBC News, Tel Aviv.
Now, as Blake mentioned, Israel's foreign ministry says the one remaining vessel did not breach the blockade. But there is a report this morning on the Guardian newspaper's website saying that it did manage to make it inside Palestinian territorial waters. That would mark the first time since the naval blockade began in 2009 that an unauthorized humanitarian mission made it that close to Gaza.